Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This is Rob Shmuel, Rob Shmuel Ben Yehoshua, Rabbi Stephen Epstein, and hoping your Passover was wonderful. You know, I remember years ago, here's my my little stories. Passover was, like any Jewish holiday, like Yom Kippur or something, where you have to give something up. It was kind of a pain when it's going to be over. It's amazing how, as you get older, and do it all over and over again. It's just part of life. And it's not that big of a deal. All right. So we eat crackers and make sure you're eating a lot of prunes and raisins. It kind of helps. Um, but the wonderful thing I love about Judaism is that it's a hands-on religion. We don't just go to synagogue and pray and then leave it, but we actually engage in the activities that our ancestors did. All right, Passover, perfect example. It's the beginning of the year, which it is. God said, okay, you're leaving Egypt. You are a free people. This will be the beginning of the year for you. And I'm laying out all the pilgrimage festivals and how the months are going to be figured. And it's part of our heritage. We're a people with a purpose now. And as we left Egypt, we are reminded because we're eating matzah all week, we're restricting our foods to only to avoid the chametz. And that's going to remind us of Passover. And that reminds us of our freedom. It reminds us that we are a free people, that we are our own people now. And we have this wonderful heritage and history and legacy and this mission, right? So this is part of it. Now, as we go into our parshas, and I'm sort of on this whole continuity kick this year, as some of you have been following me can tell. We go into this our portion. It's Tazria-Metzora, and I believe it is the first double portion we have for our year. So 5785 is not a leap year. We have just the straight 12 months. And as such, since we have more parashot than we have weeks of the year to, of course, accommodate, the leap years, we have to double sum up, and we don't just pick willy-nilly which one are we going to do. The rabbis have laid it out. Now, Tazria-Metzora is a very logical combination because it's about, ready for this? It's about blemishes all the time. What color is your skin? Is it big? Is it smaller? Is there a hair in it? Is it growing? Is it not growing? Okay. And then Metzora is the remedies. It's also what happens when you start getting blemishes on your house, right? And there's a lot of commentary to that. In the Hertz Chumash, the conservative Chumash, 1.0, the Eitz Chaim being the 2.0 now that they use, Rabbi Hertz used to describe the blemishes, the Tazria, the Tsaras, as leprosy. Now, we know it's not leprosy because unfortunately you get leprosy, it's basically that's it. It's a death sentence and there's no cure, especially back then. But with these blemishes, with this, Tazria, the Tsaras, then you get the priest comes and is the one who diagnoses it. Okay, the priest. These are not medical people. Not that there were many medical people back then, but why does the priest diagnose an apparent medical condition? Because it is not a medical condition. It is a spiritual condition that is manifesting. Now, a lot of people say that Metzora, Motzi Ra, okay? You're getting these blemishes because you've shot your mouth off about something. You're gossiping, you're tale-bearing, you're demeaning people. I'm smiling because what if this happened in Washington with our politicians and our public figures? Could you imagine when they start demeaning people, all of a sudden they break out in these things? Oh, let's find where's an Israelite priest that can diagnose this? Yeah, Consider it, right? But that doesn't happen anymore. Back then, the Israelites were a very concentrated group. We were a concentrated group, and we were very righteous. And we had the temple, and we had the offerings, and we had Moses, who was close to God. Then we had the priests, the Kohen Gadol. We had the temple. So there was a very close connection between us and Hashem. Not that there's not a close connection now, but the world has changed a lot. And we just don't have that level of spirituality. So what happens? So you're gossiping, you're rumors, whatever, you're demeaning your neighbor, you're talking behind their back, and all of a sudden you notice a blotch. And probably other people will notice it too. They'll call over a Kohen. Kohen, the priest, will diagnose this. And if it is isolated, they'll send you outside the camp for 7 days. Now, that is a fitting punishment because if you are going around stirring the pot, stirring up trouble between people by gossiping and talebearing and just frivolously demeaning people, then you deserve to be isolated, right? This is a sure sign. You get isolated. And after 7 days, if you learned your lesson, the priest comes out, they look at it. Okay, you've learned your lesson, go back, shave, offer a sin offering, and you're good to go. And now you know. One of the things that the person does as well is they walk down the street going, Zara, Zara, contaminate, tame, I'm contaminated, avoid me. A perfect response, right? A perfect karma for somebody who's off mingling with people and spreading trouble. So now they go back the 7 days. If the blotch is still there, they have to stay another 7 days and bam. Okay. So let's consider the flow. I love to talk about the flow of the Torah and how this portion leads into this portion and what did we see before that, because it's one big continuity and it helps us understand the whole reckoning, the whole movement, the procession of Torah, of God's laws. So we had the end of Exodus, the Mishkan is built. Okay, great. Hey, we've got a place where God can meet us. Holy, right? Then we've got then we have the ordination of the priests. We have the consecrations. We have the offerings, the four basic ones: the burnt offering, the Thanksgiving offering, the sin and the guilt offerings, the mincha offerings as part of that. Okay. Then we had Shemini, where we had the discussion of the festivals. We had the unfortunate demise of Adav and Nabihu, okay, who entered the wrong part of the temple, the Mishkan at the wrong time, and they paid for it. Then we had the laws of kashrut. Again, you are what you eat. You eat something, and let's make sure it's pure because you are what you eat. And if you're eating purity, then you become that purity. Okay, so we got purity. Now we have kind of a contrast to that. We have an impurity. See, we're looking at all the contingencies, all the options, all the things that can happen. So it's really kind of an interesting take on it. Now, we think about a blemish on a house, and to us it seems supernatural. And back then, there were some things that we would consider supernatural, and we'll come to some of those as we move along. The idea of Nadab and Abihu being just zapped. Bodies were intact, but they were dead. I mean, that's kind of bizarre, right? How does that happen? So we have a blemish that appears on somebody's house. Now, there's, as usual, different commentaries. Some people say that when the Israelites took over or conquered or settled in the promised land, some of the Canaanite tribes had hid treasures inside the house, and by a blemish, they started removing the bricks and, oh, well, I found gold, right? Treasure hunt, there it is. Other people say that this was a response to people who are stingy. people who, a neighbor wants to borrow a tool or something. No, I don't have it. And Judaism demands that you're generous. It really does. You see, and we'll come to this as we start going into some of the more laws, that if somebody is on the road, somebody you don't like, and their animal has fallen, it is your obligation to help that animal up. God says, why would you leave the poor animal there? I mean, Judaism demands that you respect, that you show respect and you do good. So basically, you start seeing blemishes, and everybody gathers around as the priests go in and start removing bricks. It's like, oh, you did have that tool after all to lend to me, you stingy, whatever. Okay, so that's part of it. So that's really what this is all about, the Tazria-Metzora. It's about outing people who are demonstrating bad, secretive behavior. Interesting, isn't it? So think about that as we enter into our new year, and it is a new year. We don't observe it, of course. We don't change the year until um, Tishrei, which is this year at the end of September. But it's still something to consider. Okay, as we start approaching our new year, as we've cleansed ourselves of all the leaven, as we've cleansed ourselves of the arrogance that is considered to be leaven, the pompousness, right? Think about that. So, Shabbat Shalom. And again, hope you had a great Passover. And as always, thank you so much for listening and attending.